Hello, welcome to a video. Welcome to my library. I know I'm always in here, but today we're actually exploring the library just a little bit. So welcome to my library. As you can tell from the title today, what we are doing is a bit of a shelf by shelf audit. You may know I have a series of vlogs called Shelf Reflection, in which I randomly roll dice and generate a shelf number from my library and then spend that episode dedicated to increasing the read percentage of that shelf, with the aim to get it to 100%, but there's only so much you can do in like a 1 week vlog, you know, I'm only human. But I thought it would be fun to do similar to what Gavin did. Gavin, we all know and love Gavin from Gavin Reads It All. He did a shelf by shelf audit. He was inspired by Shelf Reflections to do that, and then in turn has then re-inspired me, so it's just like a cycle of inspiration. So shout out to Gavin for that. In that video he went through each of his shelves and told you the read percentage of it to see where the read books are at. And I figured I have a spreadsheet that has that sort of information in it anyway for Shelf Reflection when I randomly generate the shelf, and then I go in and filter to that shelf and it gives me those percentages. So I have gone around my library and attached little post-it notes to every shelf to tell me its read percentage, so that I can go around with you and show you every shelf's read percentage. And then what I want you to do is root for a shelf. I want you to vote for a shelf that you want me to read in a Shelf Reflection episode. And then I'm not going to promise which month I'll do it, maybe June. I will read the most voted for shelf. That could be risky, because there are some shelves that have some incredibly popular books on that you might want me to read. There are some shelves with really low percentages. So that could be risky, but I want you to vote. So I'm going to have a form linked in the description of this for you to vote on a shelf number. And then I'll read that at some point. But yeah, we'll go through them from shelf 1.1 up there, all the way around to 8.7. I'm going to need to get a ladder though, because I can't reach up there. Bear with. I don't know why I'm shouting. You're on my microphone, which is attached to me. Here I come. Ladder. Right, let's bring you a bit closer. We're going up there. Okay, so up here on the top is shelf 1.1. This one has come up in a Shelf Reflection before, so I am happy to report to you that its read percentage is 54.5. So it is over 50%, which is positive, but it is only just over 50%, which is slightly less positive. Some of the titles up here that I still need to read include A Touch of Light by Thiago Abdullah, Witness for the Dead by Catherine Addison, as I've now read The Goblin Emperor, 100 Million Years in a Day, Mageborn, I'm still excited about that one, Upon a Burning Throne by Ashok Banker, I'm very excited about that one. The Dragons of Deepwood Fen is actually a DNF, but it's so pretty that I can't unhaul it. We've got A Drop of Corruption up here, which I'm very excited for, which is the next book after The Tainted Cup in that series by Robert Jackson Bennett. Very excited about that. My Throat and Open Grave, Green Rider, which is actually on my priority list for this year, so I should get to that one this year. Wolf in the Whale, and The Black Coast up here as well. I really like Shelf 1.1. I think it's got some good variety on it, and some of the books I've read from up here are some of my favourites, like the Bear and the Nightingale series, which I loved. The Last Unicorn by Peter Beagle. I loved that book. Our Wives Under the Sea, I loved. Last Gifts of the Universe, I also really loved. So there's some really good books up here, as there should be, because it's already been reflected on. Moving down, this is shelf 1.2. We'll do it drop by drop. And the read percentage on this one is not quite so good. This is 40% read. So needs some work, but we're starting off well with Bloom, which I loved, the Truth Witch series by Susan Dennard, which I loved the first 3 of, and then we've got Sight Witch there as well. The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, which I loved, so I've read all of them so far, and then we get into the unread books. Calamity at Katori 5, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Gingerbread, Dangerous Remedies, Kings of the Wild, which again is a DNF, but I think that was just a wrong time thing. I will try that one again. And its sequel, Bloody Rose, The Final Strife, Best Hex Ever, Unconquerable Sun, and then this little one I have actually read as well, Hex, in the end there. So it is quite a split, but there's a lot that I haven't read on shelf 1.2. And shelf 1.3 is similar. This one is 42.1% read. I don't need the ladder anymore. We start off with The City We Became, which I have read, and then a lot of books I haven't read. The Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, have not read. The 5th season is one that I actually DNF'd. In fact, it still has the bookmark in it. I got to page 195 of the 5th season and then DNF'd it. Clearly it was a soft DNF though, because the whole trilogy is still on my shelf. Maybe that's something I would reflect on. The Forever Sea I have read. The Endless Song is another one I have not. That is the Forever Sea's sequel. And then we've got the first 5 books in The Wheel of Time, which I have not read any of. It is what it is. It's fine. Then we have the Fallen Gods. What's this series called? The Hannah Kaner series, which I have read. Kingdom of Essence by Holly Carlson here, which I have not read. The other one on here I haven't read is Bryony and Roses by T. Kingfisher, which the reflection of the window is right on. Coming down to 1.4, this is even worse. This is terrible. This is 27.3% read. So, we start off with, so this is Ever After, not been read. We then have a couple of books that have been read, and then we've got the whole Lies of Locke Lamora, Gentleman Bastards series so far, the first 3 of those. These are the Broken Binding editions. They are stunning. Love them. But the Lies of Locke Lamora is my Patreon buddy read for this month, so that one should be being read this month. In Ascension, which I have also not read. We Ride the Storm, which again I have not read. Kingdom of Liars I have read, and it kind of let me down a little bit, but I then have the sequels to that. There was potential, but it hasn't called to me, so I'm not sure how I feel about that in general, but that is a low shelf. Then getting down here to shelf 1.5, this one is 33.3% read. And it's got some jewellery bits just chilling on it over here. So we start off with How High We Go in the Dark, which I have not read. Blood of an Exile and Sorcery of a Queen I have read by Brian Nasland, and then we've got Fury of a Demon, which is a joke that I haven't read it yet. The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Naylor is one that I've always been excited to read this, and then I just haven't picked it up. So another one that I should really get to. We then have the Sleeping Giants trilogy, which I have read. Son of the Storm, I have not read. Sabriel, I have not read. Beast Made of Night, I have not read. Dreamwalker, I have not read. Then Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heep, I have not read. She Who Became the Sun, I have not read. And When the Moon Hatched, I have also not read. 33.3%, a third. A third read, 2/3 unread. And then we come down to shelf 1.6, which is 64.3% read, which is pretty good going. We've got the Raven Cycle series starting us off down here. A good start, because I love that series. The Bone Shard Daughter, which I have read and very much enjoyed. But then we have The Bone Shard Emperor and The Bone Shard War by Andrea Stewart that I haven't read, so I really need to continue on that series. We then have The Justice of Kings, which I have read. And then The Tyranny of Faith is empty. Because I'm currently reading, but as of right now it counts as unread, but I'm currently reading Tyranny of Faith. And then we have The Trials of Empire, the third and final book in that series, to go as well. And the other unread book on this shelf is Tangleweed and Brine. And then right at the bottom we have my comics shelf, and honestly, I feel weird about this shelf because I feel like I probably need to do a good purge of it because I just don't reach for comics anymore. But my comic shelf is 85.7% read, which is pretty good going. I have read all of my Lumberjanes, I've read my Goldie Vance, I've read my Descender and Ascender, I've read Saga, I've read Skyward. What have I got that's unread? Some of Low, I think Low volume 4 and 5 I haven't read. I liked the beginning of Low, I just haven't like reached for it to continue, and I think again it's just that I'm not reaching for comics so much. Invisible Kingdom volume 2 and 3, I never continued this after reading volume 1, which I probably should. Then at the back end here we've got Inkblot, which I am still wanting to read. It's about a talking cat, I think. Magical cat that can travel through time, space and the 7 realms of reality. Can't talk. It can time travel. And we've got Die down here as well, which I haven't read. There's a few, but it is mostly read down here because like all of my Lumberjanes and Saga and so on, like it helps, you know. So that's drop 1. Let's go up to drop 2. Up here, shelf 2.1. This is bad. This is really bad. These angles are not great for you, and I'm really sorry about that. Shelf 2.1 is 15% read. Probably easier to tell you what I have read from this shelf. I have read Master of Sorrows by Justin T. Cole. Have not read its sequel. Have not read The Furies of Calderon by Jim Butcher. Lots of people have told me that I would really like this. The Hacienda is one that I'm quite excited about. Probably a spooky season one. I do have the Black Magician trilogy by Trudy Canavan. The little like mass market paperback ones that I picked up from a charity shop. They were like £2 each, so I got the whole trilogy. Another one that's been on the shelf for a while, The Tethered Mage, is one that I have been told many times that I should read and would really enjoy. Similarly, Graceling by Kristen Cashore, another one that I have been told I would enjoy. 1,000 Recipes for Revenge by Beth Cato is a foodie fantasy. The Herb Witch's Apprentice seemed cute. Psalm for the Wild Built, Prayer for the Crown Shy I have read. The Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water I have not read. Shogun, this absolute beastie of a book, I DNF'd. I got to page 220. That does not look like 220 pages, but it is. And I did not enjoy. And then we've got The Lighthouse Witches by CJ Cook at the end there as well. So 15% is not ideal for this top shelf, but it is what it is. You have the power to change that. 2.2 is not too bad, and we are at 47.4%. And I already am looking at this shelf going, they shouldn't even be here. But we've got some Heather Fawcett books, which I have enjoyed. This is the first unread one in A Notorious Sorcerer. Raymond E. Feist here as well, with King of Ashes and the Queen of Storms. Skipping over to Hand of the Sun King, which I'm excited about. I have its sequel, Garden of Empire, there as well, which I do really want to read. The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman, I have not read. The Mercies by Kira Millward Hargrave, I have not read. And Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, I have not read. So a good portion of the books I have read on this shelf, very unfortunately, come from this section. And I no longer support that author. Do not really want to talk about his existence. Will be disposing of the books. I just haven't because I don't know what to do with the books. Ugh, get rid of the ladder again. In fact, let's put it over here because I'm going to need it again in a minute. Shelf 2.3 is here. And this is 52.2% read. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. We start off with a bunch of T. Kingfisher, which I have read, but some T. Kingfisher that I haven't read includes Paladin's Grace, which I'm actually really excited about and want to read. We then have A Sorceress Comes to Call, which I also want to read really badly. Then we have some T.J. Klune, which I haven't read, Somewhere Beyond the Sea, Wolfsong, The Extraordinaries, Under the Whispering Door, all unread. The Song of the Siren, unread. Sun in the Void, unread. Dragonfall, unread. They are read. The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd-Jones, unread. And The Silverblood Promise by James Logan, also unread. I think I'm going to love this, but I wonder if it's one of those that I'm going to put like so much expectation on that I'm just not going to read for ages. Here, shelf 2.4 is at 40.9%. So we have got The Contender in here, which I have not read. Tripping Arcadia, which I have not read. We have got the Powder Mage trilogy, starting with The Promise of Blood, which I have not read. The Ed MacDonald trilogy, the Blackwing trilogy, I have not read. Daughter of Red Winter, I have, though. We then also have Blackwater, The Flood in here, which I have not read. A few Joanna Ruth Myers that I have, and then a few that I haven't. So Into the Heartless Wood, Beyond the Shadowed Earth, and Beneath the Haunting Sea by Joanna Ruth Meyer I have not read. We have Ascendant by Michael R. Miller, which I have not read. And then we have Aldous Sylvia Moreno Garcia, which I have read, and Sons of Darkness at the end there, which I have read and loved and need to get the sequel of. Okay, down we come. Shelf 2.5 is 42.1% read. So again, not great, but slightly better than the one above. So, Witch Sign I have read, but its sequels Stormtide and Nightfall I have not. North is the Night. I was gonna read in February for Polathon and then I didn't get to it and I'm really mad about it. The Name of the Wind I have read. The Wise Man's Fear I have not. The Rhythmatist by Brandon Sanderson have not read. Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. Can't even read the title, never mind the book. That one is unread. King's Radiance is unread. Shanghai Sparrow and Sparrow Falling by Guy Sebald, unread. Magical Girl Retires, unread. We Are the Dead, unread. And then my Samantha Shannon Priory books are read. And then hopping down to 2.6. Shelf 2.6 is 63.6% read. We've had this one come up on Shelf Reflections before. It did well. So we have got a couple of new additions to this shelf since then in Tea You at the Altar and A Pirate's Life for Tea. Steph gave me these, but I have not read You Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, nor do I own it. I have it on my Kindle, but I don't own it physically. But Steph gave me copies of these. So at least I didn't spend any money on them because she just donated them my way. But I would need to read the first book in that, which I don't own physically but is on my Kindle. I then have Inkblood's Sister Scribe, which is unread. The Phoenix King, which is DNF'd. The First Binding, which I'm really excited to read. This is a brick of a book, but unread currently. Read. Unread, The Fire Within Them by Matthew Ward, the only Matthew Ward book that is yet to be read. Witch King by Martha Wells, also unread. And then we've got all my Django Wexler. Read. The other unread book here is The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter. This is the second book in the Rage of Dragons series, but it's been a long time since I read The Rage of Dragons, so I would probably need to reread that. Yeah, this is a good shelf. There's a lot of good books on this shelf. Like, two of my favourite trilogies are here, And in reality, these probably need moving over to my favourites shelves, but I just haven't done that yet. But I think they both need shifting over to, we'll get over there. Anyway, bottom shelf. This is my graphic novel shelf down here. I'm really low and you can't see anything. This shelf, 2.7, is 66.7% read. And some of my unread titles here include Jadeyraereads, Scales and Scoundrels Volume 2, Wingbearer, Return of Zeta the Space Girl, and Legends of Zeta the Space Girl. The other ones on here, we have got Unfamiliar and Map Makers and The Lost Magic. And they are my unread graphic novels. At the very top up here, we have shelf 3.1. I'm going to blame this on the fact that I can't reach up here. But I have this really cute little Okapi that my friend Freddie got me for my birthday. I love it. Please pay attention to how cute he is and not the awful statistic you're about to hear. This shelf is 0% read. But he's so cute. Okay, so up here I have got Seasons of the Storm by No! He died. I'll pick him up in a second. Seasons of the Storm by L. Cosimano. The Would-Be Queen by Edward Cox. Dark Matter and Recursion by Blake Crouch. These have been on my TBR for so long. Oh, Finn's picked up the Okapi. Oh no. Then we have got Floating Hotel and Frontier by Grace Curtis as well. And then a decorative book up there too. So there's not many books, but they are all unread. Finn, that's not a toy. I have rescued the Okapi. Octopi? He lives up here. Shelf 3.2, I can't blame this on the fact that I can't reach it, but we have got 14.3% here. So we have got Honeycomb by Joanna M. Harris, standing right there. A Pocket Full of Crows, also very nice, by Joanna M. Harris. Orbital, which I DNF'd, so that doesn't count as TBR because it's marked as DNF, unfortunately. The Water Outlaws, which is a beautiful, is this the Inkstone edition? I think it is. Inkstone, yes. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous book. The book that scares me the most out of all that I own, Illborn by Daniel T. Jackson. Why is it so big? And then On Earth as It Is on Television. Okay, shelf 3.3 is marked as NA, not applicable. None of the books here are on my spreadsheet. This is purely books I've held on to from my childhood for nostalgia's sake. I have read up to here of them. So there are only 2 books on this shelf that I haven't read. They're just the last 2 books from this series that I was obsessed with as a kid. It is the I Am Number 4 series. I have read I Am Number 4 like 11 times. I have no interest in reading it anymore. I have no interest in finishing this series. But I hold on to them purely for the nostalgia, so they're not actually in my spreadsheet at all. Even though they are books I own, they're not in my spreadsheet because it's just nostalgia. They're just being stored here. I'm not going to reread them. I'm not going to finish the series, but they are nostalgia. Maybe one day I will unhaul them if I ever need the space, but whilst they're okay here, they can stay here. We then have a shelf with hardly any books on it. So shelf 4.3 is 60% read. Wild Swans, I have read. East of the Sun, West of the Moon, I have read. The White Fox, I have read. The 2 books on here that I have not read are Fireborn by Rosa Raimunda and Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. Shelf 3.5 here is 16% read. I have only read 1 book from this shelf, and that is The Emperor's Blades. Otherwise, we have got The Thief of Legacy by Andrew Simpson, which is a self-published one that I really should get to. Got The Deep by Rivers Solomon. Then, of course, we've got the next 2 books in the Brian Staveley series, The Providence of Fire and The Last Mortal Bond. I loved The Emperor's Blades, so I really need to continue this series. Pretty bad. And then we also have The House of Hollow on there as well. Moving down again, we have got this shelf here, which is 22% read. But we do also have some DNFs on here. So, unread, but very excited to read, I have got The Ember Blade and The Shadow Casket by Chris Wooding. Something about these I'm so excited to read. I'll get there. Ninth Reign by Jen Williams, I'm also excited about. I do have Fourth Wing and Iron Flame here, but I are marked as DNFs because I DNF'd Fourth Wing. I'm not going to continue that series. I just need to get round to graveyarding them. Butter, I'm very excited about as well. Looking forward to that one. And Collarbound by Rebecca Zahabi there as well. Also needs to be read. So only 22% read on here. And then at the very bottom, we have my non-fiction shelf. I don't even know if you can see me properly down here. But my non-fiction shelf down here is 29.4% read. I don't read an awful lot of non-fiction, so that's pretty good. So unread down here, but I'm so excited for when I'm in the mood for this one. A Brief History of Black Holes by Becky Smethurst. Very excited about that. A lot of these are astrophysics books. We have Switching on Stars at the Dawn of Time, First Light. Then we've got a couple of Carlo Rovelli ones, 7 Brief Lessons on Physics and White Holes. We've got The Milky Way Smells of Rum and Raspberries, which I have started, slowly chipping away at that. The Universe in Bite-Sized Chunks, This Way to the Universe, The Physics of Climate Change, and The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs. And then from the 10 Things You Should Know series that I like, I still have 2 of those to read, being The Body and Trees. So I'm excited for both of those as well. Okay, I'm not gonna bother getting up on the ladder for that top shelf, because most of the books are not even there anyway. Up on the top shelf lives all of my toilet-bound Hanako-kun, which is all read, but I have lent it out to my cousin, so she currently has all of that. But it is in total as a shelf 84% read, most of that being toilet-bound Hanako-kun. What else I have up there to read is Magus of the Library and The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 4 and 5. And that's it. So there's only 3 things up there that need reading anyway. This shelf, shelf 4.2, is 77.8% read. Pretty good. But that is mostly because that's where all of my Ragnar Crimson is. But unread on this shelf, we have Death Note, Black Edition, Volume 1, Children of the Whales, 1, 2, and 3. And that's all there is on that shelf. Hopping down to this shelf, shelf 4.3, one that's come up very recently on Shelf Reflection, is 100% read. Go and watch that episode. I got a shelf to 100%. I have an empty can of Fanta there. Ignore me being a slob. Then we have shelf 4.4. A lot of these have been lent out, but this shelf is 47.4% read. And the unread books include Frieren 4, 5, 6, and 7, Reign of the Seven Spellblades, which has been on my shelf for a little while actually. I should probably get around to reading that one. Your Name 1, and then Spy Family 7, 8, 9, and 10. So not too bad, but still a lot of work to be done on that shelf, but mainly continuing series. Okay, shelf 4.5 is 42.9% read. Again, a lot of the shelves that live on this book, no, a lot of the books that live on this shelf have been lent out to my mum, being the ones that I have read. So what we are left with is the ones I haven't read, being The Bookshop Woman, Yeonam Dong's Smiley Laundromat, I'm excited about that one. Marigold Mind Laundry, also excited about that one. Will Prescribe You a Cat. That's been on my shelf for a little while. That was one of the early healing fictions that I purchased, but I still haven't read. So I should read that. And Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon. Hopping down even further, we have more of my healing fiction shelves. That's kind of what these shelves are. It's a weird categorization, but it is what it is. Shelf 4.6 is 84.2% read, which is a very high percentage. What have we got in here that I haven't read? We have got the Return to the Delegate Dream department store. I loved the first one. Have not finished that duology. Red. Unread is The Convenience Store by the Sea. Very excited to read this one. And I Want to Die, but I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. And that is everything on that shelf. Then at the very bottom, shelf 4.7, is where some of my romances live. Pretty much if I read a romance, I'm going to read it on my Kindle these days because I don't have a desire to keep those books. But I do have a few, and a few of them are unread. So this is 22% read, but the unread ones that I've got down here are Simmer Down, Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake, Something Wild and Wonderful, Tacos for Two, and Maybe I Will. So they are all foodie, well, almost all foodie romances there. And they, again, have been on my shelf for a little while, and I haven't read them, and I probably should. And then we also have my Homer translations by Emily Wilson. We have the Iliad and the Odyssey. I am slowly working my way through the Iliad. I am 222 pages into the Iliad, but it is a long-term project, and I will then move on to the Odyssey. Okay, up we go to shelf 5.1. This shelf is so difficult to reach because it's right in this corner where I then have like a cart and piles of boxes on the floor, because this is the middle grade corner of doom where books come to die. Maybe not quite so true. But this is shelf 5.1, which is 60.7% read. Unread books up here, we have got, starting off strong with Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston. I could probably unhaul those. I don't think I'm going to read them. Rainbow Grey books 2 and 3 by Laura Ellen Anderson. Also probably not going to read them, but they're like gorgeous sprayed edge editions. Then I have got The Thief Who Sang Storms by Sophie Anderson, which I can't believe I still haven't read. I've loved Sophie Anderson and just have not read that one. They are all read. Then we have got Explorers at Stardust City by Alex Bell, which is unread. In fact, so is Explorers of Pirate Island in the same series. And then we're really getting to books that I can't reach. But we have got Legendarium by Jennifer Bell, Smoking Hourglass and the Frozen Telescope, also by Jennifer Bell, Wilderlaw by Amanda Foody, and The Last Bear by Hannah Gold, right over in that corner. I just don't reach for middle grades anymore, and I physically can't reach my middle grades anymore. Hopping down a shelf to shelf 5.2. 5.2 is 75.9% read. Unread on this shelf, we have got Serpent of the Sands by Vashti Hardy. I don't think I've read Firesong either, which is the third book in the Brightstorm series. So a couple of Vashti Hardys that I haven't yet read. But I love Brightstorm and Dark Whisper. And then some Diana Wynne Jones. So in my Diana Wynne Jones, I've read the Howl's Moving Castle trilogy, and from the Crestomancy series, I have read the first 3. So I then have Conrad's Fate, Mixed Magics, The Lives of Christopher Chan, and The Pinot Egg still to read, and then A Tale of Time City, also by Diana Wynne Jones, to read. I wasn't enjoying Crestomancy so much. I wanted to love Diana Wynne Jones just because I love the Howl's Moving Castle trilogy, but Crestomancy hasn't been one I've enjoyed so much, so we'll see. Okay, and then the next shelf down, we have shelf 5.3, which has come up on Shelf Reflection. This was my first shelf of Shelf Reflection. This is 95.7% read. There is one book unread on this shelf, and that is Anya and the Nightingale by Sophia Pasternak. That is it. One unread book. I truly can only apologise for the horrific angles you're getting in this video. Hopefully the exciting content is making up for it. Shelf 5.4 is 55% read. And unread on this shelf is this little section here. So we have got Frankie Best Hates Quests, and then the Edge Chronicles. All of the Edge Chronicles books are unread. This whole stack just here. And then the latest Skandar book is unread as well, which is Skandar and the Skeleton Curse. I have not read that one yet. This is where you see how messy my library is down here. Ooh, let's not go right to the bottom. This is a mess. Like, all my glasses are just here. My camera that I don't use so much anymore, my Kindle, my water bottle, fake plant, mess. Anyway, we have shelf 5.5, which is my Pokemon shelf, and it is 46.7% read. I have read Pokemon Adventures 1 through 5, and then I stopped. I think I burnt myself out because I read 1 through 5 back to back. So I need to carry on with Pokemon at some point. So I've got volume 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Journeys. Oh no, I've read Journeys 1, but I haven't read Journeys 2 and 3. And then I've got X and Y volume 1 and 2 as well. I got those ones specifically because X and Y were my favourite games to play. So I got those. And then at the very bottom, we have shelf 5.6, which is 22% read. And this is a weird shelf because we've got some more manga here. We've got Full Metal Alchemists, like bind up editions, volumes 1, 2 and 3 here, and 4, 5 and 6 here. So those. And then we've got my One Piece bind-ups. I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but have not read 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got those in there. Then we have my self-destruct pile, which I need to destroy. Right, over to the good shelves. Up here are my favourites shelves, which means a lot of good percentages. So much so that I'm not going to need the ladder because I don't need to show you the whole top row. So, shelf 6.1, top up there is a bunch of the Schwab editions, Darker Shade of Magic and Fragile Threads of Power. That's all that's up there. So it's 4 books, but many editions of them. Read them all, 100%. Done! 7.1 is The Night Circus and The Starless Sea, and some decorative bits. I've read them both. 100%. Done. 8.1, Sebastian de Castell, Spellslinger series, Argosy series, Malevolent 7. All read. 100%. Done. Underneath that, another Sebastian de Castell shelf with more editions of Spellslinger, Argosy, The Greatcoats, Play of Shadows, Crucible of Chaos. All read, 100% done. Back over to 6.2, a bunch of the Schwab. There is one book on this shelf that is unread, and it is Everyday Angel. This is the only Schwab book that I haven't read. Everything else up here is read. So 6.2 is 91.7% read. Let's go down to 6.3 then, the order we're supposed to be doing this in. 6.3 is 85.7% read. All of my Faithful and the Fallen series is read. There are actually only 2 books on this shelf that are unread, and it is A Time of Blood and A Time of Courage. I started A Time of Blood the other day and DNF'd it, but I haven't marked it as DNF'd in my spreadsheet. If both of these were marked as DNF'd, because I've DNF'd book 2, therefore I would be DNFing book 3, then I would be at 100% on that shelf. So I just need to decide if this is a hard DNF or if I'm gonna go back to the series. But book 1 in this series really disappointed me. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I'm going to continue. Otherwise, though, love what else is on that shelf. I can sit down for this bit. We have got shelf 6.4 here, which is 87.5% read. The only thing unread on this shelf is The River of Silver. That's the only thing I haven't read on that shelf. This is the short stories from the City of Brass trilogy. Haven't read that. Then it gets a bit worse, because then we have shelf 6.5, which is 45% read. This is my Brandon Sanderson shelf. So we've got Elantris all the way up to Rhythm of War in their beautiful paperbacks, and I am here. This is where I got to. So this side is all red. This side, unread. So Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, Rhythm of War, and actually part of Arcanum Unbounded has been read because I read the short stories that were relevant to the earlier books. So part of that has been read, but not all of it. But basically, I haven't read the Stormlight archive, so I'm only at 45% read on this shelf. And then shelf 6.6 down here, I can hardly get to sometimes because of this chair, but this is where my Fairy Loot books come. This shelf and the equivalent when we get over that side. And shelf 6.6 is 47.4% read, which is actually a lot higher than I thought it was going to be. I will give myself some credit there. But some of the unread titles on here consist of Spice Road, which is one I wanted to read ages ago and never got to. What the River Knows as well. Threads That Bind. And then what else have we got in here? Evocation by S.T. Gibson, which I don't think I'm going to like. A Tempest of Tea, which I don't think I'm going to like. The Dagger and the Flame, which I don't think I'm going to like. There's a theme here. There's a definite theme. We then have The Shadow Cabinet, The Girl with No Reflection, Sing Me to Sleep, Long Live Evil, Sleep Like Death, and The Stardust Thief back there as well. I can't get all of those out. So a fair few unread Fairy Loot books. Let's tackle this middle shelf next. So next up would be 7.2, because we've already done 7.1. 7.2 has my Dandelion Dynasty set on it. My very beautiful broken binding Dandelion Dynasty set. This shelf is 25% read because I have read one of the four. I read The Grace of Kings and I did not love it. I will be reading book 2 at some point just to see if it was just the first book and the rest of them could be good, or if the series wasn't for me. But that's the situation on shelf 7.2. Shelf 7.3 only has 2 books on it, but 2 editions of it, and we have got The Art of Prophecy and The Art of Destiny by Wesley Chu. I love those books. I've read them both, so 7.3 is 100% read. 7.4 is also 100% read. Tilt you down a little bit. This is my Greenbone Saga shelf. I've got special edition hardbacks and the regular paperbacks in there, all read 100%. Then bringing you down to 7.5, this shelf is 66.7% read. This is my Jeff Vandermeer shelf. I've got my Southern Reach trilogy, which I love, but unread on this shelf we have got City of Saints and Madmen. We have got Venice Underground. We have got Absolution. That's it. They're all my unread Jeff Vandermeer books, which is pretty good going to only have 3 of those. Then at the very bottom here we have Winter's Promise, the Mirror Visitor Quartet, which is shelf 7.6, which puts it at 75% read because I DNF'd the last one. I DNF'd The Storm of Echoes. I was so mad about it. And I'm never going to finish it, but I loved the first 3 so much. I loved A Winter's Promise so much. And then I really enjoyed The Missing of Claire de Lune and The Memory of Babel, whatever. And then hated The Storm of Echoes. So that shelf will always be 75% read. Okay, as we've already done 8.1 and 8.2, we are then at 8.3. This is, of course, a Jen Lyons shelf. We have got the Chorus of Dragons in hardback and paperback. This shelf is 100% read. We also have The Sky on Fire here, both editions, read and loved, 100%. Then we have shelf 8.4, which is again at 100% because these are special editions of books we've seen elsewhere in the library. So we have the Bear and the Nightingale trilogy, more special editions here, Diana Wynne Jones, Kiki's Delivery Service there, and the Raven Cycle again, which I love. Last shelves, I promise. Shelf 8.5 is clearly my Robin Hobb shelf, and this is 72% read. I have read up to here. Why did I stop? Let me just move that card. Why did I stop? I've read all of these. So unread on this shelf, we have Blood of Dragons, which is the fourth and final book in the Rainwilds Chronicles. Why didn't I finish that? And then the final trilogy, is it the Fitz and the Fool trilogy or something? Yes, the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, the last one, that will destroy my heart and soul. So yeah, 4 books left in the realm of the Udlings. Carrying on from the Fairy Loot editions, we have shelf 8.6, which is 37% read, which is lower, of course, and some of the unread titles on this shelf include In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune, The Darkness Within Us, Bonesmith, Forged by Blood, The Temptation of Magic, The Wolf and the Woodsman, Gods Below, Air, Language of Dragons, Foxglove King, Scorpion and the Night Blossom, and that's it. And that's it, as if that wasn't loads. And there we have it. There is my shelf by shelf audit, every shelf and its percentages read in my library. There are probably a lot of books that I need to unhaul, DNFs, ones that I'm hoarding, ones that I'm not actually interested in reading, but I'm not short for space at the moment, so I'm not too worried about doing that. And naturally, with shelf reflection going on, they will be unhauled as those shelves get reached and I reflect on what's on them. But hopefully this has been somewhat entertaining for you because it's taken a really long time to film. As I said at the beginning, I will have a form down below where you can vote on what shelf you want me to tackle in, I'm gonna say June, but I'm not gonna make a promise, but what shelf you want me to tackle, and I will do like a you pick my shelf reflection sort of vlog. So whatever is the most popular is the shelf I will do. I don't know how that's gonna go. Are you gonna be nice to me? Are you gonna pick the 0% shelf? Are you gonna pick one with a good variety? Are you going to pick ones where you know that I'm going to unhaul loads? I don't know what you're going to do. So I will leave that up to you. But I hope you have enjoyed. And if you have, give us a thumbs up. Chat to me down below. All that good stuff. If you want to let me know what your shelf that you want me to read is, drop that in the comments as well. Just so I know what you're thinking about. But also fill in the form as well, just so I can easily keep that all together. Okay, I'm going to stop now. Thanks for watching. Hope you've had fun. I'll see you next time. Bye!